Discover 6 spine-chilling cult secrets, sinister rituals exposed that will terrify and haunt you. It started on a typical summer night in Willow Creek, where laughter once echoed along the manicured lawns. Rachel sat in her dimly lit living room, the mundane sounds of her 15-year-old son, Tyler, thumping upstairs as he rummaged through the attic. Suddenly, a soft thud followed by an unsettling silence filled the air. A cold shiver chased down her spine, amplifying her racing heart. Something felt wrong. Just then, Tyler's voice broke through the quiet. "Mom! You've got to see this." She rushed to the stairs, her pulse quickening, tiny tendrils of paranoia curling around her thoughts. As she ascended, she felt the weight of the dark stillness pressing in like a heavy fog. When she reached the attic, the sight before her was at once mundane and horrifying. Tyler stood there, holding an ancient, leather-bound diary. The corners of its pages whispered tales of yesteryear's Chinese takeout memories mixed with community potlucks. But something felt amiss. "This belongs to Mrs. Jenkins. She vanished last month," he said, his eyes wide with curiosity and terror. "You have to read this." Flipping through the brittle pages, Tyler's voice trembled as he recounted disturbing rituals, old practices that Preston Hollow, the very town they called home, once embraced. The weight of generations pressed ominously against Rachel's chest. "Rituals?" she echoed, feeling an icy jolt of fear. "What kind of rituals? Cult-like gatherings? Sacrifices? Even chanting?" he stammered. Their home, once a sanctuary, felt charged with an unseen dread. Rachel's mind raced. Could this be why everyone was acting strangely? That evening, on her drive home from work, Rachel cranked the radio up, desperate for normalcy. But the whispers returned, phantom voices streaming through her open windows, calling her name with a sinister lilt. She dismissed them, chalking it up to exhaustion. But deep inside, her instincts screamed that this was more than just fatigue. Later that night, she noticed crimson symbols adorning her neighbors' doors, etched like gnarled vines crawling toward the sky. Each chilling mark felt like a personal attack, an intrusion into their peaceful life. Rachel's heart thudded against her ribcage. It was no mere coincidence. The town that had once wrapped its arms around her was now growing hostile. Then came the worst news. Tyler hadn't returned from his end-of-year school event. The clock's ticking resonated ominously, 1 minute felt like an hour. Panic clawed at her throat as she called his phone, only silence answered. The police dismissed her fears with quips about teenage escapades, words that twisted the knife of her anxiety. "I'll find him myself," Rachel muttered, shaking with dread. As she scoured the submerged streets, the shadows of familiarity cast long, menacing shapes against her racing thoughts. Weren't those faces she once knew now twisted in mistrust? She pushed deeper into the dark, a sense of impending doom coiling around her. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing in the woods bordering their neighborhood. A flickering light danced in the distance. Heart racing, she couldn't help but be drawn closer. What she uncovered sent her soul into free fall. There, in the dark, she saw them, a clandestine gathering of hooded figures, their words a haunting chorus echoing through the night. "Were they waiting for you too, Rachel?" a voice murmured from the shadows. The grip of fear seized her heart. She was tangled in a sinister web spun long ago. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she stood frozen, the chilling whispers returned. "We've been waiting for you, Rachel." A spellbinding dread sunk its claws and she realized her family's history was entangled in the dark past she thought she'd outrun. Could she save Tyler, or had her search led her straight into the very trap meant to ensnare them both? The air thickened, heavy with an unmistakable sense of dread. Rachel's mind raced. Who were they? What had they been waiting for? A flicker of torchlight danced dangerously close, revealing the pale, twisted faces of the gathered figures. One stepped forward, the hood falling away to reveal Mrs. Jenkins' sunken, hollow eyes. The sight sent a jolt of fear through Rachel, tightening her throat. "You're too late, Rachel," the woman croaked, her voice dripping with malice. "You should have left the past buried." Her chilling smile sent ice shooting through Rachel's veins. They were bound by blood. She realized this gathering had roots that reached into her own history. A rustle broke the tension, and Rachel turned sharply, hoping for a sign of Tyler. But all she saw was the encroaching darkness, shadows slipping between the trees like ghosts. The whispers intensified, wrapping around her like a noose. "Join us," they called, beckoning her into their malevolence. "It's time to reclaim what was taken." "Where is my son?" Rachel's voice broke, trembling with desperation. "Your son is part of this," a figure said, its voice smooth as silk yet laced with venom. "The town sacrifices truth to maintain its facade. But we can awaken the forgotten power within you." Rachel fought the urge to backpedal, her instinct screaming for her to run. If Tyler was here, if he was a sacrifice. A surge of pure terror electrified her limbs, draining her strength. She had felt shadows lurking ever since she found that diary. Could there be something more to her family? To her own blood? "Leave him alone," she shouted, her voice echoing, cracking under pressure, yet defiant. All eyes turned toward her, some expectant, some with dark humor flickering beneath the surface. She felt the pull of their gaze, a binding energy laced with threat. "Only by joining us can you save him," Mrs. Jenkins crooned, gesturing to an altar draped in shadow, a terrible offering piled high with something unrecognizable but sharp like shards of glass glimmering in the fading light. "No. I want to let you take him," Rachel shouted again, her voice soaring above the ominous hum of the chants. Yet the words felt weak against their harmony, like a single candle flickering amid a storm. In that moment of panic, she turned, sprinting away from the clearing, feet pounding against the earth, heart hammering like a war drum. Branches whipped at her face, the biting chill of the night air stinging her skin. She didn't know where she was going, only that she couldn't escape them. The whispers haunted her, echoing through the woods like a soundtrack to her despair. "The past one to let you leave, Rachel." The voice taunted her from the darkness, distorting into a sick laughter. She stumbled, feet tangling, before managing to right herself, adrenaline propelling her further into the wild, desperate to reach safety. Every instinct screamed at her to stop, but the shadows kept coming, their presence a cold, consuming darkness. As she burst into the main street, panic surged anew. The neighborhood was deceptively calm, awash in an unsettling silence, as if it had been stripped of life while she ran. She staggered toward home, desperate for the comfort of familiar walls. Tyler's absence was a weight pressing against her chest, hardening into a fear that clawed at her sanity. Had he really turned against her, as they implied? Suddenly, movement caught her eye, figures in the periphery, watching, waiting. Her neighbors, faces painted with crimson, stood in their doorways, solemn and unyielding. Counting, watching. Always watching. "We know what you've done," one hissed, a voice dripping with disdain, perfect echoes of the chants Rachel heard just moments ago. She gasped, her heart racing as she turned to find the way back home. But she felt it a strange pull toward them. It was as if the very roots of her family were binding her to this nightmare. And what of Tyler? Time was running out. The night stretched infinitely around her, a labyrinth of horrors intent on swallowing her whole. In the depths of her heart, a question lingered, festering like a sore. Had she been meant to find this dark legacy all along? Dragons stirred in wait for the dawn, hoping to consume her whole. Would she unravel the dark threads woven through her family, or would they bind her to a fate worse than death? As the wails of the hooded figures emerged from the shadows behind her, a singular thought pierced her mind like a blade. Would she need to embrace the darkness to save her son? The first horror of dawn was only a breath away. Rachel's eyes darted frantically around the street, searching for anything familiar to ground her. Shadows shifted in the corners of her vision, flickering away whenever she focused on them. Each breath felt like hot coals burning in her chest, and the chill of the night pressed in, suffocating. "Rachel!" The plaintive whisper curled around her. It twisted at her insides, drawing her attention back to Mrs. Jenkins, flanked by her sinister gathering. They stepped out of the darkness, moving with a purposeful slowness, eyes glistening with an unnatural hunger. "Do you see how your neighbors have embraced the truth?" Mrs. Jenkins continued, an unsettling glee creeping into her voice. "They've sacrificed their will for our revival. Isn't that something to aspire to?" A low murmur of agreement rose among the gathered figures. It echoed through the silence, a chorus of acceptance that chilled Rachel to her core. They looked so alive, their skin vibrant against the dark, pulsating with a life force she both envied and feared. What had they traded for this existence? The street felt unreal, like a dream twisted with nightmare. The houses loomed large, shadows creeping along the ground as if eager to swallow what little light remained. Rachel's heart thundered in her ears as she trained her gaze on the nearest door, where a familiar face stared out. Mrs. Henderson, her neighbor from across the street, her usual warm smile replaced by a grimace of joylessness, framed in crimson. "They know your sins, Rachel," she shouted, her voice morphed, haunting yet melodic, as if singing a nursery rhyme twisted into madness. "Join us, and forget the pain." "No. I want tea." Rachel stumbled backward. Her mind screamed for her to run, yet her feet felt rooted, as if they were made of lead. Images of Tyler filled her thoughts, wide-eyed and innocent, his laughter filling every crevice of a heart now choking on despair. Was he somewhere nearby? Could he hear her? "Come to us, Rachel." A chorus of voices rang out, sharp and insistent. They began to chant her name, their rhythm working into her bones. The unity of their dark cheer filled the air, growing louder, more insistent. "The blood will call you home." Rachel shook her head violently, forcing herself to tear her gaze from the crowd, seizing the momentary jolt of fear. It propelled her into a sprint down the street. "Do not run from your fate," erupted a voice cloaked in power, a sound that rumbled as if the earth itself trembled. The marketplace, the conqueror of her childhood dreams, lay ahead, a twisted version of innocence now haunted by her ancestors' deeds. She darted toward the open space, longing for the thrill of its vibrancy yet fearing the stain of its history. The sound of footsteps echoed behind her, echoing like the drum of war, relentless and unyielding. She burst into the marketplace, where flickering lights illuminated remnants of the life that had once existed. Tables were overturned, chairs scattered, but it was the altar in the center that pulled her attention. The altar. Her heart stopped. On it lay a book, its cover a deep, blood-red leather stained with dark whorls that mimicked smoke. The whispers clouded her mind as they shouted the names of forgotten ones, names of her own lineage. "Protect it, Rachel." A voice echoed from within the book. It was deeper, laced with danger and mystery. "Or face the darkness that hungers for you." She hesitated, teetering on the brink of decision. It was a power she didn't understand, a legacy she couldn't fathom. The echoes of the figures loomed closer, they would catch her any moment now. With a surge of instinct, she crossed the threshold, grabbing the book, her fingers brushing against the binding. And then she screamed. A raw, primal sound that pierced the night, drawing every eye toward her. In that moment, the darkness swelled, an unstoppable wave of shadows lurching toward her, a cyclone of malevolence eager to consume. The world spun, the chants becoming a frenzied crescendo as she held the heavy book close against her chest. "If I can read it," she gasped, maybe I can learn how to save him." But could knowledge save her son or drag her deeper into the abyss? The figures halted, their movements stilling as if nature itself drew a breath. And in the silence, as Rachel stood at the precipice of a decision that would echo through generations, she dared to muse, what terrible insights lay within the pages of her legacy. And what if the real horror wasn't the darkness outside but the one brewing within her? The dawning light trembled on the horizon, and the mere suggestion of a new horror crept into the air. Would light save or consume her? The storm was only beginning. The book felt alive in her hands, a pulsing heart that matched the frenzy in her chest. She forced her eyes open and looked down at the cover, the crimson hue reflecting the flickering lights of the marketplace. She could feel the whispers crawling into her mind, tempting her with secrets of power and dark history. Rachel. The voices floated closer, now sounding intimately soft, like caresses of silk against her skin, mixing seduction with danger. Open it, discover what binds you. Fear gripped Rachel. She held the book tighter, knuckles white. The crowd remained frozen, but their eyes betrayed an insatiable hunger that seeped into the air. Each blink seemed to amplify her dread, shadows swelling where no light dared to go. Find the truth, Mrs. Jenkins crooned, edging closer with a serpentine grace. Your bloodline has a story to tell, and you are its next chapter. Get away from me. Rachel shouted, the sound tearing at her throat. Every inch within her screamed to flee, yet the weight of her family's sins locked her feet in place. What if the book had the answers she needed to save Tyler? With a swift intake of air, she threw herself at the altar, indiscriminately tearing the cover open. Pages flapped like the wings of desperate birds. Sketches adorned their surfaces, rituals of sacrifice, faces twisted in pain and ecstasy. The ink seemed to shimmer, beckoning her deeper into the murky legacy of her line. Rachel. A distant voice cut through the haze. The hopeful ring of Tyler's name brought a spark of clarity. Mom. The sound echoed, pulling her from the clammy grip of despair. But it faded too quickly. No. She needed to reach him. A memory flickered, a time they spent together, reading comics, laughing. Tyler's face, alive with joy, pierced her heart with longing. With newfound determination, she adapted her focus to the words, reciting them under her breath. An incantation. Her voice wavered, nervous yet steadying as she fell deeper into the curse of her ancestry. As she spoke, the air thickened, and the marketplace darkened, shadows seeping through every crack, oozing like viscous tar. Join us, Rachel. The figures murmured at once, their voices drumming against her skull. This is your destiny. Join your fate. Their chorus wrapped around her, drowning her thoughts. Panic clawed at her throat. She can't lose herself to this madness. Shut up. She screamed, forcing the words out with an anger rising from somewhere deep within. I will not be part of this. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. The shadows rippled as if her defiance had struck a nerve. A cacophony of whispers rose into a roar, lightning illuminating faces twisted in malice. They surged forward, void of any humanity, mere vessels for their dark desires. The book glowed variegated hues, its pages dancing with energy like fireflies caught in a tempest. Rachel's instincts screamed, propelling her forward. She bolted from the altar, the shadows clawing at her heels, hungry fingers grasping for the very essence of her soul. Protect it. Learn the truth. A guttural voice thundered, and she felt the book's weight shift as she fled, melding with the shadows. Rachel stumbled toward the marketplace's edge, where fragmented moonlight peeked through the clouds. In that sliver, she caught her breath, heart racing, thoughts spilling over in chaos. But the darkness was still right behind her, swirling like a predator, undeterred. Mom! The voice rang out again, clearer now, spurring her movements. Tyler was close. Every fiber of her being ignited with urgent purpose. She needed to save him, but the path ahead was murky with terror, distant echoes of reckoning charging toward her. Where was he? She'd have to confront whatever waited beneath the shadows, whatever scoffed at her attempts to escape. The truth she wielded could either protect him or devour them both. As a new distant shriek pierced the air, and the darkness swallowed the moonlight whole, a chilling laugh reverberated through the shadows. Would she step into the light or succumb to the encroaching night? The narrative of her family whispered around her, tangling with destiny and horror. And with a heart full of fear, she pressed on, knowing she had to take that leap. But before she could take a step further, a blur lunged from the darkness, and Rachel's breath caught in her throat. What was coming for her now? Each heartbeat echoed the dread. Was it Tyler, or was it something far worse? Rachel's eyes widened as the blur hurtled towards her from the depths of darkness. For a split second, she thought it was Tyler, breaking through the barriers of shadow, his outstretched arms reaching for her. But as it emerged into the sliver of moonlight, she recoiled in horror. It wasn't Tyler. The figure was tall and disjointed, a grotesque version of a man with hollow eyes that seemed to drink in the light. Its limbs moved unnaturally, jerking at angles that defied all human logic. It wore a tattered robe that swayed around its bony frame like smoke, and from it came the stench of decay, mingling with the damp earth beneath them. Rachel's heart thundered violently in her chest, a primal urging to flee flooding her senses. Rachel, the voice slithered from its twisted mouth, forked and malicious. You are so close now. Embrace your fate. Stay away. She shouted, backing into the cool stone of the marketplace wall. The shadows around her flickered in response, intensifying the stench of fear that clung to her. Every instinct told her to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground. The book pulsed in her hands, its energy sparking at her fingertips like a live wire, drawing her toward the creature. In a desperate bid to understand, she shouted, "What do you want with me?" The twisted figure laughed, a sound like crows cawing at twilight. You carry the weight of your ancestors, their blood sings in your veins. The power can be yours. Join us. Join you? I'll never. But even as she spoke, doubt crept into her mind. Could the book offer a way to save Tyler? The thought coiled around her heart and squeezed. The creature took another step closer, its mouth stretching into a grin that revealed jagged teeth. He is trapped under the weight of the darkness you refuse to face, Rachel. Open the book. Learn the sacrifice needed to save him. No. She shook her head fiercely, but the echoes of its words reverberated in her thoughts. You're lying, it's a trick. As she argued, the shadows behind the creature twisted with anticipation, eager to engulf her. She could see forms swirling within lost souls, remnants of those who had succumbed to the same dark allure she faced. The panic surged to a peak, and with a strength she didn't know she had, Rachel spun and dashed away from the thing, lunging into the crowded marketplace. Adrenaline coursed through her, propelling her forward as the whispers tangled in her hair, nipping at her neck. People moved around her, oblivious or perhaps enchanted by their own dark dealings. She skated past stalls of strange objects, each one glowing with an eerie light. Her chest tightened with dread. This place was not just a market, it was a trap. Mom! Tyler's voice echoed again, this time close, desperate. Tyler! The cry escaped her lips, fierce and trembling. She darted through cracks in the shifting crowd, but with every frantic step, the weight of the book in her grasp grew heavier, more oppressive. Could she really trust what it promised? Suddenly, a figure emerged before her, a woman cloaked in writhing shadows, her gaze piercing through the darkness. You will not escape your blood, Rachel, she whispered, a faint smile tugging at her lips, as if she relished the struggle unfolding before her. Rachel's heart slammed against her ribs. The shadows behind the woman felt alive, swirling and grasping for her. With a scattering of frantic options, she could either confront this specter of her past or continue searching for Tyler. But as another shriek split the night, raw and primal, the choice was robbed from her. A wave of darkness surged forward, and Rachel realized the truth of her world. The shadows weren't just a backdrop, they were predators, waiting for her to falter. "Stay strong," the book seemed to whisper in the silence that followed. "Embrace your legacy." What awaited her now? Could she discover the real source of the shadow's power before it consumed everything she held dear? The whispering wind howled a chilling promise, and Rachel felt the ground tremble as she took a step toward the center of the nightmare. The ground beneath Rachel quaked, sending vibration straight through her bones. With every shaky breath, she could feel the suffocating darkness crawling closer, its grip tightening on her throat. The marketplace around her seemed to fade, colors draining into a monochrome haze of shadow. Her eyes darted through the haze, searching desperately for Tyler, for an escape, for anything but the approaching horror. Rachel, the woman's voice melded with the snarl of the wind, echoing like a distorted melody. "This is your true home. You are not meant to fight it." Anger ignited within Rachel, flaring dangerously close to despair. "No. You don't get to decide my path," she screamed, pushing against the encroaching shadow. The book in her hands hummed, a flicker of light revealing symbols that danced just beyond her understanding. Did they connect to the creature? Was this sketchy parchment the key to uncovering the truth? With a surge of will, Rachel pulled herself away from the oppressive darkness around her, forcing her legs to move toward the flickering glow of the nearest stall. A small, timid lantern hung over a table piled high with peculiar trinkets. A chill settled in the air as she approached, her fingers brushing against a smooth, black stone that whispered of binding and sacrifice. The urge to look back was irresistible, and as she did, she saw the woman gesture toward her, fingers elongated and skeletal. "You can't run forever, child. Embrace what you are, it will make you strong. Join us for the feast." The shriek from earlier cut through Rachel's thoughts again, a visceral reminder of Tyler's uncertain fate. "I want tea." She choked out, clutching the stone like a lifeline, determined to block the terror slinking at her heels. Just as she turned toward the stall keeper, the atmosphere shifted. The air became electric with dread, and shimmering shadows dimmed with hunger, reaching out like claws. As she glanced back, the woman's smile widened, revealing rows upon rows of teeth, terrible teeth, filled with malice. A surge of panic forced Rachel to backpedal. "Tyler! I'm coming!" She dashed through the crowd, her vision narrowing, tunnel-like, as her heart raced. The stall owners turned, their faces twisted in glee, eyes reflecting the darkness that sprawled wider, consuming any flicker of hope. As Rachel raced on, she suddenly collided with someone, a chilling stillness enveloping them. A young boy with hollow cheeks and vacant eyes stared right through her, his expression a blend of sadness and resignation. "Help us," he breathed, his voice a soft whisper filled with a haunting despair. "Please, before it's too late." The collective despair of those caught within the shadows rang in the boy's voice, a siren call that tugged at Rachel's heart. I need to find my son." She gasped, but the shadows grew thicker around them, swirling with insatiable need. "No more." The boy's thin fingers curled toward her. "If you turn away, you'll lose him. You need the book. Understand the sacrifice. Accept your legacy." The weight of his words sent chills deep into Rachel's core. Could it be true? Did the book really hold the answer to save Tyler, or was it just another snare in this harrowing web? An agonizing scream sliced through the air, pulling her from the boy's gaze as she steeled herself. The shadows stirred, howling in protest, and with each heartbeat, she understood the entity wouldn't allow her to leave. The book's purpose throbbed against her chest. No time to waste. Rachel could feel her options dwindling, reality fraying at the edges. With her mind racing, she would have to uncover the truth embedded within the ancient pages. She turned, the language of shadows haunting her thoughts. Do I even want to know what legacy awaits me? But as the shadows lurched forward, ready to claim another lost soul, she knew. She had to confront the darkness, even if it meant facing the worst parts of herself, because the price of ignorance was a fate worse than death. Would the answers she sought be a path to salvation or a descent into madness? The shadows writhed eagerly, waiting for her next move. The air had become thick, cloying, weighing down on Rachel like a heavy blanket. Sweat trickled down her back, an icy reminder of the terror that lurked closer with each passing second. The boy's spectral presence hung over her, a thread of hope tangled with despair. She had to make a choice, and fast. The book pulsed again, brighter this time, as if sensing her urgency. With trembling hands, she opened it to a random page, the smell of ancient paper rising, sharp and earthy. Symbols swirled before her eyes, their meanings barely graspable yet intensely magnetizing. A phrase emerged, clearer than the rest, "A blood bond seals the darkness." Panic seized her heart. What did that even imply? What would she have to sacrifice? She skimmed further, drawing dread from words that danced at the edge. To save, one must offer. Rachel's breathing quickened. She couldn't. Not Tyler. Not anyone. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, black tendrils snaking around her ankles. Heart racing, she kicked and stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the table. Everything spun, the marketplace now a maelstrom of darkness and despair. The boy watched, gaze vacant yet pleading, urging her forward. "Do it, Rachel," he urged. "Find the truth. Fight back. Fight back." She had spent her life running. What good would fighting do now? Rachel didn't have much faith in herself, but as Tyler's scream echoed in her mind, it ignited something fierce within her. Potential. Power. A will to protect. "Leave me alone," she screamed, twisting to face the swirling mass of shadow, her voice shaking but resolute. "I will not be part of your feast." A cacophony of voices responded, a blend of laughter and wails that slithered into her ears, filling her with unease. "You are one of us. Embrace it." Fingers of darkness reached to her, probing and grappling at her resolve. For a fleeting moment, the thought of succumbing to this world became tempting. The struggle fell away, and she pictured Tyler safe beside her, free from threat. Was this ease worth the cost? No. She shouted again, clenching the stone. She was stronger than her fear. She could fight. With a surge of adrenaline, Rachel focused on the book, willing it to guide her. Closing her eyes, she called forth the symbols she had glimpsed. The shadows paused. An almost quivering anticipation filled the air. "Show me," she whispered, her voice steadying. "What must I do?" The book exploded with light, as pages fluttered wildly, turning as if guided by a storm. The symbols aligned, weaving together a tapestry of ancient knowledge. In her mind, echoes of the past flooded in fragments of rituals, of lost souls, of darkness made flesh. The shadows reacted violently, hissing and recoiling from the light. "Stop her!" they howled, their voices a growl of hunger and rage. "Please! Make it stop!" The boy's voice reached her again, desperate. "Or you'll lose him." Rachel's heart ached, understanding dawning like a painful bright light. This was not just about her. It was about Tyler, it was about lives tethered to her choices. She had to make her move. "I will bind you, but you will not devour me," she declared, her heart pounding with purpose. She began to chant the incantation that wove through her mind like a haunting lullaby, pulling darkness in like a vessel. The shadows writhed, their anguished cries growing louder. Rachel pressed on. The energy surged inside her, igniting power she didn't know she possessed. Suddenly, she felt the pull, the weight of something cold and sinister tugging at her soul. It felt monumental, as if the very essence of darkness was seeking to reclaim her. And then silence fell. The world around her vanished into nothingness, engulfed in a haze of menacing whispers and shadows that hungered. What was happening? "Rachel," a familiar voice called softly, pulling her from the depths. Save me, it was Tyler. She could not lose him again. Fear pulsed through her veins, sharpening her resolve. She had to follow the echoes of his voice, had to pry open the doorway to find him. As she stepped forth into the void, the shadows clawed at her, whispering secrets of the darkness. But she would shatter their hold. Tyler! She screamed into the abyss, fearing what lay ahead but refusing to turn back. The final confrontation was drawing close, and Rachel was ready to discover what awaited her, even if it meant facing the very darkness she had fought to escape. But would accepting the legacy truly save her son, or would it destroy them all? Rachel felt the cool touch of the void envelope her, an oppressive silence wrapping around her like chains. She fought against the anxiety crawling beneath her skin, focusing only on Tyler's fading voice. His tone was filled with profound fear, and it thrust her deeper into the abyss, igniting a fierce determination. Tyler! She shouted, echoing in the suffocating darkness. Where are you? The shadows danced menacingly, swirling like a storm, taunting her. They whispered hushed fragments of pain, as if her desperate calls were amusing them. Rachel, join us, live forever in our embrace, their voices slithered, seducing her to surrender. But she wouldn't yield. Not now. She willed herself to take a breath, steadying her racing heart. I will find him. I promise. The words echoed, firm and defiant. Suddenly, images began to swirl around her, flashes of light and color cutting through the shadows. She saw Tyler's face, twisted with fear, and she felt a surge of adrenaline that drove her forward. The darkness tightened around her, resistance growing more intense. It was like fighting against water trying to drag her down. Tyler! She reached out, desperately searching for him in the nightmarish landscape of swirling shadows. The darkness distorted their surroundings, shifting shapes that flickered in and out of existence. She caught sight of a door flickering with light at the edge of a swirling vortex. Without thinking, she lunged toward it, the shadows shrieking, "Stop her! You cannot escape!" The sound crashed into her like a wave, but she pushed through, driven by the need to save him. The door grew larger, and with it, she felt Tyler's presence strengthen. His voice broke through the chaos, clearer this time. "Help me, Rachel. I'm scared." Her heart twisted. "I'm coming, baby." She screamed, the echoes of the shadows trying to silence her, to smother her hope. As she reached the door, black tendrils lunged at her, wrapping around her arms and legs, dragging her back. The darkness whispered sweetly, "You can't save him. It's too late." But Rachel wouldn't listen. With a primal roar, she ripped the shadows away, feeling the surge of light fill her. The door was just within reach now, pulsing with warmth. Finally, as she thrust herself forward, she broke through, crashing into the other side. She stumbled into a dimly lit room, its stone walls lined with flickering candles. A chill swept through her as she scanned the space. In the center, Tyler was bound, unable to move. Shadows coiled around him like serpents, feeding from his fear. "No!" Rachel cried, rushing forward. As she closed the distance, two figures emerged from the darkness, gaunt, grotesque beings, their eyes glistening with malice. They grinned, revealing teeth sharpened like daggers. "Ah, the mother arrives just in time," one of the monsters hissed. "But you can't save him. The bond must be sealed." Fear boiled in her chest as they advanced, cold dread clawing at her resolve. Yet, a fire began to kindle inside her. The power she had felt before surged again, desperate and chaotic. "I will not let you take him." With a deep inhale, she remembered the incantation, still echoing in her soul. Clenching her fists, she lifted her voice, chanting with all her strength. The symbols from the book flickered in her mind, guiding her, intertwining with each desperate word. The room trembled as energies collided, the shadows shrieking, recoiling from the light spilling from her. But it wasn't enough. The darkness surrounding Tyler seemed to amplify, feeding off the panic coursing through him. With each word she cast, the figures grew angrier, their forms twisting as they fought against her power. "You think you can control it?" The second figure taunted, laughing maniacally. "You'll only become another vessel of darkness." Rachel pressed on, fear and determination blending into pure adrenaline. "I won't let fear decide," she shouted, and the walls around her lit up, blinding her enemies and pulling strength safely in her direction. But as she reached the crescendo of the chant, a deafening silence crashed in, the energy dwindling all around her. The shadowy figures seized the opportunity, lunging forward, and the chant slipped from her lips. "Accept your destiny, Rachel. Embrace us," they roared, laced in venom and rage. "No!" she screamed, casting her arms wide. The room shook violently. How could she fight back against something that claimed to be part of her? Just then, a surge of light erupted from Tyler, bright and pure, cutting through the depths of despair. Rachel's heart raced. There was a chance. A fleeting hope sparked. "Hold on, Tyler," she shouted, her voice trembling with raw power. "We'll face this together." The shadows shrieked as the light grew, but Rachel could see it now, the connection between them. She had to trust in it, to let it guide her. As darkness and light clashed, the air thickened around them, and she felt the ground tremble. Could love really conquer even this? Would they escape the nightmare? All she knew was that she wasn't alone anymore. But would their bond be strong enough to break the chains of the shadows, or would darkness consume them both? The light from Tyler enveloped the room, pushing the shadows back, but the deep, suffocating darkness fought fiercely, writhing as if alive. Rachel's breath quickened as fear settled in the pit of her stomach. She could see Tyler, eyes wide and fearful, yet lit with a glimmer of hope. Their connection was tangible, electrifying. "Stay with me," she shouted, heart racing. The dark figures hesitated, their ghastly expressions twisting with confusion. They sensed the bond, the growing light that threatened to shatter their dark dominion. But it was fleeting. The shadows lunged again, sharp like knives, clawing at her resolve. "You think you can save him?" one hissed, voice dripping with malice. "You're so naive." "Shut up," Rachel screamed, summoning every ounce of strength she could muster. The shadows seemed to flinch, just for a moment. She pushed forward, each step feeling heavier than the last, as if the weight of despair were wrapping itself around her like a vice. "Rachel, please." Tyler's voice pierced through the cacophony, each syllable a plea for her to fight. "I'm scared." And with that, a wave of fury surged within her. "I won't lose you." She raised her hands high, feeling the warmth start to pulse from her fingertips. Magic surged raw and unrefined, unlike anything she had ever unleashed before. The shadows hissed, tight bands of darkness spiraling wildly around her, desperate to snuff out the light. "Release him." The air crackled, forcing her to yell over the tumult. She felt the energy crackle beneath her skin, a living thing with its own will. If only she could speak the words, utter the incantation that would bind the darkness instead. But doubt seeped in. What if she failed? What if she became consumed, another tool for their sadistic games? Images of her own darkness surfaced, fear of losing Tyler, of being trapped forever in this nightmare. "Rachel." His voice cut through her thoughts, panic seeping into his tone. With a primal scream, she thrust her hands down, pushing as if to drive the shadows into the ground. It worked, for a moment. The grotesque figures shrieked, their misshapen forms twisting in agony as the warm light crashed against them. Come on," she urged, her voice thick with emotion. Tyler's essence swirled within her, intertwining in a dance against the darkness. Suddenly, a sharp, stabbing pain pierced through her chest, and she gasped. One of the shadowy figures had lunged, its dagger-like teeth sinking into her arm. Black tendrils coiled tighter around her, dragging her down. "Mother!" Tyler's voice cracked. "No!" A pool of despair threatened to drown out the light, but Rachel grit her teeth. "You win. I choose to fight." She wrestled against the shadows, summoning that flicker of warmth, that boundless connection between them. As her heart raced, the pain intensified, pulsating like a dark rhythm. "This ends now," she roared, forcing her will into the light. The pain suddenly vanished. In its place, she felt empowerment, a surge of something primal. With renewed strength, she gripped the air tightly, her voice reverberating with newfound might. "By the light of love, I break this chain." Boom! The room erupted in brightness. A shockwave exploded from her, pushing the dark tendrils back as a brilliant beam spiraled towards Tyler, wrapping around him in relief. But the figures screamed, disintegrating as they writhed away from the light. "No! You cannot stop the bond." Rachel felt the connection tethering them pull tighter like a lifeline, as Tyler's fear flooded back, potent and raw. She could see his anguish, and it threatened to tear her apart. "Rachel!" His eyes widened, desperation dimming the light around them. "Save yourself. You have to know. I want to leave you." The words burst forth, filled with rage and love. Yet, as the brightness surged, shadows began to coalesce around her again, thick and sinister. Something in the back of Rachel's mind screamed a warning. The bond they shared, it was powerful, but at what cost? She could either save him or risk everything, including herself. As the walls of the room trembled, she felt an ancient force shift, a decision loomed just out of reach. The light flickered, revealing a truth hidden deep within the chaos. If they were to escape, they would have to confront their very darkness, together. Rachel's heart pounded in her ears, words clawing at her throat. "What do I do?" And then, echoing from the depths of the shadows came a sinister whisper, "Accept your fate, or lose him forever." What choice would she make? The clock was ticking, and time was slipping away. Rachel stood there, teetering on the brink of despair and determination, her heart pounding. The shadows slithered closer, their whispers curling around her like smoke, demanding she yield to their power. But the connection she felt to Tyler pulsed like a lighthouse in the storm. No sacrifice was too great if it meant saving him. "Rachel!" Tyler's voice echoed, full of raw terror. "Don't give in. Remember what we talked about. Remember your strength." The memory surged within her, a simple moment between mother and son it seemed, sharing secrets and dreams on their couch, laughter spilling like sunlight. She felt power rising through her, a fire breaking through the freezing grip of the darkness surrounding her. "You're right," she shouted, her voice slicing through the whispers. "I want to let fear hold me down." With renewed resolve, Rachel plunged deeper into the light that swirled around them. The pain in her chest faded now, morphing from agony into clarity. The book in her hands radiated warmth against her palms, illuminating the truth she had been searching for all along. "Together, Tyler," she whispered fiercely, feeling their bond strengthen. "We can face this." As she reached her hands out towards the shadows, she focused her mind on him, the warmth of their shared laughter, the comfort of snuggling under blankets on a cold winter night. "I choose love. I choose you." The shadows recoiled, a cacophony of crackling shrieks filling the air. The grotesque figures flinched away from the light radiating from Rachel and Tyler. "No! You can't escape the bond!" they howled, their forms distorting in agony. Rachel raised her arms higher, pouring every ounce of her will into the light. It pulsed brighter and stronger. "Your darkness holds no power over us," she cried, channeling the energy of her ancestors, the strength of every mother who had fought for her child before her. Stars flickered behind her eyes as white-hot light shot from her fingertips. It surged toward Tyler, wrapping around him like a protective cocoon, glowing bright enough to pierce the darkness. You are loved, and you are not alone. Suddenly, the shadows erupted in a flurry of chaos, their forms twisting and contorting as if the very fabric of their evil was stretched beyond its limit. Rachel gritted her teeth, refusing to back down. Together, she screamed, the two of them locked in an ethereal dance of light meeting dark. Her heart raced as she felt Tyler's presence surge alongside her, merging their powers into one. A beam of light shot forward, scorching the dark figures around Tyler, who shrieked, unraveling into wisps of smoke. I see you, I love you. Rachel cried, and with that declaration, the connection solidified, pushing back the shadows. Then, with an explosive pop, the darkness shattered, the chains binding Tyler crumbling like brittle glass underfoot. Tyler, now free, stood in the light beside her, his face illuminated with wonder and love. Mom! He cried, arms outstretched, and she rushed toward him. They crashed together, and the warmth ignited a fire that surged within her. The shadows hissed and howled behind them, but nothing would pull them apart now. At that moment, Rachel felt a release, a breaking of the chains that had held them back. They would not be defined by darkness, instead, their raw love would make them indomitable. As they clung to each other in the golden light, the world around them transformed. The marketplace twisted and collapsed into the bright gleam of a new dawn, shadows retreating like the tide. The air filled with the gentle chirping of birds and the warmth of sunlight caressed their skin, bringing with it a sense of peace that seemed impossible moments before. Together, they stepped into the brightening world, hand in hand. What just happened? Tyler asked, eyes wide. Rachel looked down at him, a smile breaking through the remnants of fear. We faced the darkness, and we won. Together. As they walked toward the edge of the woods, a sense of promise blossomed in her heart. The whispers of horror had faded, replaced by the rising chorus of normalcy. They would rebuild, and the memories of the past would guide their future but not define it. But a haunting voice drifted behind them, swirling with the wind, a reminder that darkness would always linger at the edges of light. We'll be waiting, it taunted, but Rachel faced forward, undeterred. Not today, she replied firmly, leading Tyler into the warmth of a new day, ready to embrace whatever came next together. If you felt the thrill of this journey, then you need to subscribe now to ensure you never miss another story like this. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Please flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread this tale. Join the community, share the adventure. Your chance to support this channel is now.